space movers. We're continuing our 2023 NFL draft journey here with the Philadelphia Eagles by evaluating that right side of the offensive line further. Guys that are potentially right guard to right tackle prospects. And once again, just like the earlier profile I brought you today, I'm going to bring you another segment that features a guy that I would best qualify as a space mover. I'm talking about Tennessee tackle guard prospect Darnell Wright. This is a man's man. This dude he plays violently with his hands. And let me tell you, off the initial snap, he looks to attack. He looks to fight. So this is an interesting guy to talk about because there's definitely some upside projection to this one. We're getting into the realm of projections here. All right, y'all. Let's get it. What's up, Cerebral Football fans? My name is Steven Hyder. This is Gate City Sports Channel. So Darnell Wright really came across my radar the first time I kind of heard Barrett Brooks talk about him. I knew who the young man was. I did catch the Georgia game with him. So, I mean, like, he definitely kind of, like, it wasn't the first time I ever heard his name. But it was the first time that I heard someone speak glowingly the way that Barrett Brooks spoke about him. So I was like, okay, let me go and take a look at the film and see what he is. And I will say that my grading is a little different from Barrett Brooks's on Darnell Wright, to be quite honest. I think he's a very good prospect, and I see this guy, yeah, I mean, he would fit in with a lot of different schemes and a lot of different players. But right from the jump, if you want me to give you the type of comp he would, and mind you, comp doesn't mean he's this player. It just means he's most similar from an athletic testing standpoint to the measurement standpoint. The three guys that came to my mind as I broke down his film and looked over his testing and looked over his measurements, guys. Quentin Nelson of the Indianapolis Colts, formerly in Notre Dame. Landon Dickerson of the Eagles, formerly FSU and Alabama. And then last but not least, his former teammate, just came out of a couple draft classes ago, Trey Smith. These dudes are big physical guys that could play tackle. Most of them did play tackle at some point during their collegiate careers. But they're guys that are big, 6'4", 6'5"-ish, even 6'6"-ish. But they don't have the requisite 34 inches or more in the arm reach. So it kind of puts them in this weird combination of could play tackle, big and strong enough to play tackle, probably better suited to kick inside at guard. And I think that's where Darnell Wright, to me, in terms of the projection, it makes more sense to kick this young man inside as a guard. Although he is violent even on the outside, and he had a really, really good game against Will Anderson in Alabama this past year. To where, I mean, he looked fluid in his movements outside of tackle. So, you know, you could definitely project this young man to be a right guard for a couple of years. Lane Johnson retires, kick him out to right tackle. I mean, if that's what you want to do, I understand the projection. I think this is a guy, once you put him at right guard, he's going to stick at right guard and he would stay, personally. Or even left guard, but I think right guard's the better fit, personally. All right, let's get into the measurements and who this young man is. 6'5", 333 pounds, a 33.75 inch arm reach, a 33 3/4 inch arm reach. I mean, like I said, guys, it's not far-fetched to say that he could play outside. He can. I mean, he's 6'5", he's 330 pounds, and he's almost 34 inches in the arm reach. I mean, he's right around the standard where you find NFL tackles. Now, the Eagles do like to have tackles that are a little longer in terms of like the range of the arms. They like that 35-inch plus. That's kind of, if you really study them and what they like to do outside of the backups, like, you know, the Landon Dickersons of the world that are more swing tackle guard prospects. Like, that's kind of like what they like to do. He had a 9-inch hand measurement and an 82-inch wingspan. Now, I will tell you that the 9-inch hand measurement's definitely a little smaller for a guy that's 6'5", 330 pounds. If you guys are wondering, like, man, what is it about when they're evaluating offensive linemen, Steve? Like, why do they give a crap about the hand measurement? It's supposed to have some sort of relation back to grip strength. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that that's the most accurate statement in the world. It's kind of like when they say wide receivers, like, oh, wide receiver has too small of a hand measurement. They may struggle actually securing the catch, securing the ball, and they need to be a little bit more technically sound than other players with larger hands. I'm going to say that when you go study drop rates in the NFL, that's not always true. So I'm out of my element, guys. I'm not an offensive lineman. I can only tell you from a scouting perspective and coaching perspective, the things that I've observed, I've heard, and I've witnessed. That's what the theory is. I don't think Darnell Wright needs to worry about that. I mean, there's been plenty of guys. I mean, Jason Peters had a smaller, hand measurement as well. He was just over 9 inches himself in terms of the hand measurement. Jason Peters was plenty strong enough in the NFL. So I don't think that necessarily correlates 100% to grip strength. All right, testing. What did he come up here? A 5.0 140 with a 1.75 10 split and a 2.9 20 split. Believe it or not, he tested better than what I thought the film showed. Now, don't get me wrong, there's elements of some very smooth footwork there on the film, but he's also kind of mixes that smooth footwork in there at times where you can kind of see that he gets a little tight, especially in the run game, pulling, moving in gap and stuff like that, or even outside zone. You can see that he's a little tighter in the run game than what I saw necessarily in terms of like the pass pro. And pass pro, I thought he showed a little fluidity, which was, I didn't think I was going to see that, and I was kind of shocked when I turned the film on. He had a 29-inch vertical. Remember, offensive linemen, if they hit 30 inches or more in the vertical, like that's like, wow, like this dude's pretty athletic kind of level. And he had a 4.72 short shuttle. I believe they measured that at his pro day, I want to say, guys. The 4.72 short shuttle, which it's not a bad time. I mean, I think you'd probably like to see that down a tenth of a second in the 4.6s. But, I mean, I don't think that lateral movement in terms of like the run game, gap blocking, wides, I don't think that's his strength. Like, he could do it. You could probably coach him up to do it, but I don't think that, I think there's far more fluid movers laterally in this draft class than Darnell Wright, if I'm going to be honest. How he graded out in terms of the analytics. He was Tennessee. Tennessee as a whole was the 44th graded unit in terms of offensive line. I thought Darnell Wright was probably, from what I could see on the film, clearly the best offensive lineman, I should say, on that football team. So, I mean, take that, grain of salt. It's just, it's just me giving an evaluation of a team that I'm not a fan of Tennessee or anything like that. It's an impartial viewpoint. He was the 6th highest right tackle in terms of the percentage of dropbacks allowing pressure. Once again, the way that you can determine this, guys, is you go to quarterback-driven stats, and you look at percentages of pressure given up, and you can normally filter that then by like position group. So you can see left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, right tackle, tight ends. You can see quarterbacks, like where they say the pressure was generated from and who was responsible for it. So he was the 6th best graded guy. He gave up the 6th fewest amount of pressures. Not even grading, it's just purely like percentages of pressures that he gave up on the year. He had the 6th lowest. So, I mean, he definitely showed up pretty well in pass protection, guys, to be quite honest. He was a much more fluid athlete than I expected to see in terms of his pass pro, in terms of that prowess. This is a strong man. This is a very strong young man. I cannot tell you, I know sometimes people will get a little concerned about, 9-inch hand measurement, and then you're dealing with the guy that's almost 34 inches in the arms. You might deal with, when you're benching, the bigger that frame is and the more lengthy and lanky you kind of are, it could be a little harder to bench, so you might underperform in that. From what I can see, guys, he didn't even bench, so I don't know where he would have tested in terms of that. To me, yeah, I mean, you can judge and you can learn a few things from bench press, but I'm not looking at bench press necessarily to say that that's functional strength on a football field. Like, I mean, there's plenty of dudes that have thrown up 35 or more reps on the bench press that when you got them on the field, technique wasn't good enough, knowledge of the game wasn't good enough, and that strength that they showed in the weight room didn't translate to functional strength on the football field. So I'm always a little hesitant with that, to be quite honest. Darnell Wright, this is a guy that I know is pretty popular in his community. Quite a few of you guys like him. I definitely think he's a space mover, man. This dude will move people off the ball. Like, he's one of those guys that I think if you bounce him in at right guard, and, if you had an emergency and you had to slide him out to right tackle, he could do it. But, yeah, man, I think bouncing him in at right guard, I think he could be one of these guys that strength running games where, the run game is going to be like you build that 10-point lead and now you're going to lean bodies on people and you're going to make it, really difficult for them to come back in a game and they're going to be sucking up air trying to, get their breath back together. Yeah, Darnell Wright, man. I mean, he makes some sense. All right, guys, I appreciate y'all's time and attention. Leave your comments down below. Tell me what you think about Darnell Wright, offensive tackle / guard, University of Tennessee. All right, y'all, I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you guys on the next video.